So organizers asked me to talk about challenges we meet in Russia working as a journalist, and ironically, today while I'm here, it's hearings in Moscow District Court against me, my editor, and the newspaper I'm working for, Novaya Gazeta. So a lawyer, Andrei Pavlov, trying to prevent us from publishing a story about him. You may not know in his name, who is the hell is Andrei Pavlov, but you probably have heard about Magnitsky case he's part of. So he was part of a massive tax fraud. More than 200 millions of dollars were stolen from Russian budget, and it became an international scandal after Magnitsky, who died in prison. So he was accountant for an international company, and he was trying to expose people who made massive fraud. But people he was trying to expose arrested him, put him in jail, tortured him, and he died in prison. So he happened to work for an international company, and the director of that company, William Browder, made a lot of efforts to make people who was behind this arrest accountable internationally. So probably you have heard about Magnitsky list. Magnitsky law implemented in the US banned people from traveling to US or having bank account and so on and so forth. And that made that people angry, at least we hope. So we wrote a lot of investigations tracing how money were stolen from Russian budget were transferred to European and American countries. Now we have new evidence that the same group of people are still operating in Russia and doing the same, including put innocent people in jail. And now this Andrei Pavlov trying to prevent us from publishing, appealing in court to privacy of his personal emails. So his emails leaked, and now we have a possibility to see how the whole system works, how all these people are connected together, officials, police officers, and so on. So in court, Pavlov trying to prevent us from publishing what we believe to be evidence of bribe, corruption, and nepotism. So this kind of challenges you can meet in Russia. As Pavlov once said, so far he's using legal tools to trying to stop us. But as we know from Magnitsky case, he has some more tools in his toolbox. So I can talk more about obstacles in Russia. For example, editor-in-chief could be fired in one day if newspaper seems to be together too popular and too independent. It happens to Galina Timchenko, the editor-in-chief of Lenta.ru, the website with 3 million day audience, while when newspaper became too independent, covering Ukrainian crisis. And more recently, it happened to another newspaper, RBK, and the whole editor board was fired after they became too active covering Panama Papers. So we can see now the owner of the newspaper, and this is people, editors who work there, and probably somebody was behind this, So if we're talking about censorship in Russia, I would say it's not about controlling all the content, but about controlling channels to deliver information to wider audience. But of course, journalists and civic activists in Russia are often followed by secret services. Their phone conversations are wired, and so basically it's not very kindly environment there. But I would not consider journalists in Russia as miserable people. So, because where else can you find such great stories? For example, you have Sergei Magnitsky, right? Oh, oops, sorry. The music. Sorry? No. Yeah, I just want to point it out. So Sergei Magnitsky, a musician, cellist, happened to be a close friend of President Putin. It's basically a low-profile person who many times say he is not rich, he has no money. And just imagine you can find the whole offshore empire belongs to him, with $1 billion on the accounts. So basically, it is what we did during Panama Paper project. Musician made his wealth by dubious deals with state-owned companies, and his companies were involved in what we believe and many experts believe to be a money laundering. And of course, many people think that billions do not belong to him, and probably he could be. It's his companies. He probably could be just a proxy to someone else, to his maybe powerful friend. But of course, we cannot be sure about it. What else? For example, general prosecutor involved in business with the bloody gangsters. Okay, we can do that. Anticorruption NGO actually proved the case last year. So it's a general prosecutor of Russia, and he is still in office after all these revelations. And here it comes to another challenge, another obstacle. So it's the main square of Iceland. We've seen that picture before during the conference after Panama Papers. And let's look at other square, red square. Again, Iceland, red square. Right? Not hard to see the difference. So it become our challenge even more than government resistance or physical threats. Nothing happens, right?
Why? Three years in prison for this man.
Okay, 3 years in prison for that man. Don't make a mistake, not for somebody we revealed. So the point is that it's hard to be fourth power when all other powers are not working as they're supposed to do. So people became very skeptical in Russia. It's hard to surprise them with corruption. It's hard to make them angry. People doesn't think they can change something, and if not, why bothering themselves reading hard, complicated articles, right? So it's the situation as I see it in Russia. But why am I here and doing that speech in front of you? I think it's very easy to exoticize corruption, to look at it as something happened only in Russia, Azerbaijan, or countries like that. But it's not a national characteristic, right? it's international. So, and we can see it by how transnational big companies are operating while coming in countries like Russia. So, working on Panama Papers, we not only did stories on politicians owning offshore companies, but also we saw how transnational companies using offshore to basically bribe Russian officials. So I personally worked on the story about Bombardier transportation, and of course, comparing to Sergei Magnitsky, it wasn't so huge, but it was still very important. From leaks like Mossack Fonseca, we can see how our international finance system are used to launder dirty money comes from Russia. We can see that in many cases people, in order to not doing proper due diligence or close their eyes to the wrongdoings, are of course not without benefits for themselves. So yes, corruption is an international issue. That's why we think investigative journalism should be international, and efforts to make transparency possible should be international. And more transparency in Norway, it's basically more transparency everywhere. So far, the people we are trying to expose in Russia are doing very well in European countries like yours, right? I can give you example. For example, it's a member of parliament, Exante Barato, owning this beautiful mansion in the heart of France. So, and he, according to his declaration, official declaration, he is the poorest member of parliament. So just imagine what other people have. So they buy wealthy property, they own bank accounts, companies, and like we can say we can think they are untouchable in Russia, but do they untouchable in European countries? I started with Magnitsky case, and it is an interesting example of how international pressure could be put to people like involved in tax fraud, right? I really think that losing opportunity to travel freely and to spend money in nice places like France, Austria, Norway, I don't know, US, could really piss them off, could really piss that people off. So for us, it's another opportunity to make them accountable. And here again we come to transparency. An expert yesterday mentioned that there is no legitimate reason not to disclosure ownership of property, of businesses, right? And I don't see a reason why hiding ownership. So it's something we as journalists in Russia really want to see. For example, London promised us, not us, but London promised to reveal owners of property in England. So it will not be possible to hide assets behind an offshore company anymore. And for example, it's like the historical building in the heart of London, and this nice, I would say, big flat belongs to guess who? Deputy Prime Minister of Russia, Shmagun. So who knows what else could we find if property would be transparent? So yes, transparency, it's an international issue, and for us it's more than just a transparency, but it's hope to bring justice we cannot find in our country. And I have to say that we have many obstacles doing our job in Russia, and it would be really nice to have some help from international community. So yeah, thank you. This is again my contact sheet.